Good morning, everyone. Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am. For today's session, I extend a warm welcome to the guest speakers, Mr. Anurodh Agnihotri and Mr. Shashank Patodia, the Director of Amity School of Fashion Technology, Professor Dr. Bhavna Channa, all my faculties and my fellow students who have joined us today for this enlightening webinar. Your presence here is greatly appreciated as we delve into the innovative world of entrepreneurship and lean methodologies. Now, I would like to invite the Director of Amity School of Fashion Technology, Bhavna Channa ma'am, to impart her valuable insights that are certain to enlighten and inspire us all. Ma'am.
Thank you, Krishika, and a very good morning to everybody. I'd like to start welcoming, of course, from our experts of the day, Mr. Anurodh Agnihotri and Mr. Shashank Patodia, our deans, directors, HOIs, faculty members, and my dear students. Well, the focus of today's event is to articulate and create a mentoring forum to understand lean startup and minimum viable product and business. Well, I think Anurodh is the best person to be talking about lean technology here because he's also done his PhD on that. And I think I can just say a little bit about it to say that lean startup is a principled approach to a new product development. And a minimum viable product is a version of a new product that allows for a team to gather the maximum amount of proven customer knowledge with the least amount of effort. So the event today is being organized by the School of Fashion Technology under the banner of the Institution's Innovation Council of Amity University, Maharashtra. Well, the spirit of the institution's Innovation Council has always been to promote the innovation and entrepreneurship culture amongst the students and to provide a supportive ecosystem for the student innovators. At the School of Fashion Technology also, our philosophy is almost on similar lines, and our philosophy of design thinking works in ways in which we have enabled our students and the faculty to initiate our own startup, which we call Bespoke. It has been registered on the government's Yukti portal. Our startup utilizes the creativity and original design ideas of students to develop new contemporary products. And besides this, we can also boast of around 20 startups of our graduates and the current batches of students. So the primary mandate today is going to be to encourage and nurture our young students to work with new ideas and stimulate entrepreneurship as a future course of occupation. For this, I think we'll all agree, it is essential to create a forum of interactions with entrepreneurs, investors, professionals, and create a mental pool for student innovators. And so we are happy today to have with us innovation experts from the field of management, design, and entrepreneurship domain. We have with us, of course, Mr. Anurodh and Mr. Shashank, and I will be requesting as the next part of our event, requesting Mr. Anurodh and Mr. Shashank to interact with our students to help them understand the concept of lean technology for developing a minimum viable product and business. So thank you so much. And thank you all for participating in this event. And with this, I'd like to hand over back to Krishika to introduce our guests and to usher them to start the session and the interaction. Krishika, thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I agree that the guidance that we are getting on the college level is utmost so that it helps us in the later stages of our life. Before we dive into the heart of today's discussion, allow me to give introduction to our esteemed institution. We take immense pride in being a part of Amity University, Mumbai, known for its commitment to fostering knowledge, creativity, and excellence. Our school, Amity School of Fashion Technology, endeavors to nurture professionals who are competent and determined to excel in the field of design, fashion, communication, and textile. Its core focus is on creating an environment that fosters creative thinking, innovation, problem solving, and leadership that encourages working on innovative projects to promote holistic personality development. Now, it is with great pleasure that I introduce our keynote speaker for this webinar, Mr. Anurodh Agnihotri, who is currently heading operations at Innotronics Labs Private Limited and pursuing PhD from Amity University itself. His research topic is application of lean manufacturing in hand block printing to increase productivity, which is challenging aspect catering to various hand block printing techniques and applying lean tools to increase productivity. The application of the research study would provide a cost-effective way to procure any handcrafted product. During his industry experience, he has been extensively involved at various craft clusters for 4 years with the Ministry of Textiles, Handicraft Department, exploring product development for different handicraft product categories. He has worked with various brands such as Reliance Retail, Tata Trent and Hypercity, buyer and category head respectively, handling women's ethnic wear businesses. Sir has been instrumental in guiding numerous startups towards success through the implementation of lean principles, and we are truly honored to have him share his insights with us today. I now have the honor to call Mr. Anurodh Agnihotri to start the session.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity, and I'll thank Bhavna ma'am and the entire team for organizing this beautiful mentoring session. And I'm really thankful to Shashank to have joined us for this session. So as you know that this session is a 2-hour session, which has been divided into 2 phases. So the first stage is about lean manufacturing and MVPs, where I'll be taking ahead live case examples, and then Shashank will be giving case studies through his experience altogether. So this is how this entire session has been designed. So I'll quickly start on with lean concept altogether. So let's get started with this. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
Yes. And if students, you have any questions, because this is a kind of a mentoring session, so I'll request you all to please post your questions so that once I'm completed with the session, I will go one by one and answer all those sessions, and thereafter take up individual questions also. There's no issue about that. So let's first, start with what exactly is lean startup. We have heard this word of lean manufacturing, organization being leaner, agile. So this is one of the concept which is now trending, and it is revolutionizing the entire sphere of life or the industry. It's altogether a different approach where we are implementing different ideas. So each one of us over here will have some other ideas and which are gradually supposed to turn out or to revolutionize the startup industry altogether. So when you see that you have so many ideas, and since there are certain bottlenecks towards those ideas, what we really do is that we start parking up those ideas, or we say that I wish to do this. So it becomes a wish list. So there are so many such ideas, startup ideas, which are there. Unfortunately, they are not being able to implement those. Now, why these ideas are not able to be implemented are various different factors altogether. But one of the strong factor is that we'll have to reevaluate the idea of our product or the idea of where we want to start our entire business. And further, it should go from an ideation stage to an execution stage. So let's further take up that what exactly is a startup? How do you really define a startup? So I'll say a startup is like a human institution where all the people, the pool of skills are building a new product altogether, or they are trying to give some kind of services. And when they are able to give these services or they are ideating, they know that these are very uncertain, extremely uncertain circumstances. Therefore, this key aspect is that under the condition of extreme uncertainty, that means, is it possible that, I plan something and then further go implement it, and can I have a well-established organization altogether? So you have to rely something with a past approaches which the industry has taken, some ideas which are there, some startups which are there, and then we need to look at that approach towards implementing such projects. So I'll say that startup is a project altogether, and it's a very step-by-step approach towards it. So we'll try to understand in this session that the word which I have really highlighted in the slide is extremely uncertain, because the ecosystem is uncertain. There are so many challenges which are there. The challenges are internal to the nature, external to the nature. When I say internal to the nature is, the kind of resources which we want. If we have hired those resources, how do you really manage those? And when we look at an external environment altogether, are my customers and my vendors with whom I have to deal. So there's a constant battle towards these two ends. And that's the reason why we say that, and the battle is too aggressive when we are a startup, because we are totally with less funds, some ideas which are there, which we are still trying to implement. So entire ecosystem, if you see, is very uncertain, and extremely uncertainty is what we are supposed to go. So is there any solution? Is there any way out towards reducing this uncertainty is what this lean startup will give us the answer for. So now if you see in the slide, as you see that there is nothing very well defined that, what exactly is a startup. Size of an organization or the industry it is equated. So a lot of these things are undefined altogether. Whether it is a profit-making organization or it is a non-profitable organization. So that is the reason why anyone can become an entrepreneur today. And that's the, that's the best part of this, that the positive trait of uncertainty or not having definitions is that anybody of us can become entrepreneurs. And that's where you see India is growing with startups. People are trying to experiment with things, the ideas which are there. Now, if you see, for example, a person who undertakes or runs a startup project in a phase of rapid changing customer preferences. Now, you see that one mobile phone itself, which we see, is rapidly changing, evolving every day. So some startup who wants to venture into this will have to really look at the customer preferences, as well as ever shortening life cycle of the product. Now, unlike 2 decades back, the life cycle of a product was long enough. You have this, you are at a maturity stage, you're starting up, then you're declining. That phase was too long. But now if you see that innovative products, the customer being aware, it has shortened the life cycle of the product. Now, so the companies are creating internal cells who are totally dedicating to your innovations. So the organization which I am working with currently has a dedicated innovation cell. We are constantly working towards research and development, creating some new products, because that's how the biggest challenge is now with the organizations, that if we do not have innovative products, if we do not have new products, you will not sustain in this market. And it's just not about, making, earlier when we talk about apparels as a fashion brand altogether, that I used to innovate my shirts in terms of changing some fabrics, some styles, some buttons, some colors. But now it's not stipulated to that. We'll have to really look on a larger term, that innovation in products altogether is designing a new product altogether. You will have to really leave your DNA of your organization and move to another DNA. Then only that survival instinct will be there. And then these small innovations are called as projects, right? So following the lean startup method, the projects ensure that you have a continuation of businesses. You do not break between the businesses. There is no decline in your revenues, in your sales. So that the company does not share any kind of fate. The way Nokia is a very good example, that where did it really go? Did they really miss out on the revolution of mobile phones, right? Were there, the capabilities or, the innovations were limited. Therefore, a brand like Nokia was not able to sustain in mobile phone markets. Why? Because they were really stuck up to their own DNA. They were not leaving the DNA of the organization and moving to the other part of it. This is where the entire ecosystem has now been challenging each other today, right? So now when you look at the lean part of it, as you see that, the concept of lean is coming from an organization called Toyota, the cars which we drive today, excellent cars, long, the service lead times are very less. amazing machines. How do they really come up with those machines? You see, the kind of frequent innovative models which they launch, Toyota, is much broader enough. Like, in 2 years' time, they might be, launching 1 or 2 new cars. Unlike any other competitor, they are very frequent in launching the cars. Why? Because Toyota believes in delivering quality to the customers. Because they are looking at much more as a leaner concept. Let the product survive the market. And that approach is maximizing the value additions. Now, when I take this word, which is called as value, see, the customer's perspective value is very different by the organization's perspective of that particular product. Example, again, I'll go back to an example of a mobile phone, or let's take an example of apparels, right? So when as a startup, I'm launching a brand which is offering block printed kurtas. So my USP is that I am offering hand block printed garments to the customers. But on the other end, if you see, the customer has a very different perspective looking at the hand block printing industry altogether. They are looking at something which is make in India, something which is grassrooted to the artisans. So as an organization, am I promoting that value which the customer requires? And if I'm able to tap that, I will have an exponential growth, because I'm attaching my organization to those sentiments of the customers. And this is where I say that, are we adding maximum value to what the customer wants? And while we are doing that, there are a lot of waste in our entire system. We always relate these waste to raw material. But there are 8 waste which Lean identifies. To give you an example is inventory, which is your stocks, your material which is there, the material which you have procured, that is one of the waste. Over-processing, overproduction, the kind of skill set of human beings which you are imparting to make that particular product. An operator, a stitching person, is very skillful in making the collar, but you are asking him to make a sleeve. Are you looking at encouraging his skill set or reducing his skill set? So these are kind of waste which are there in the system. So therefore, I always say that inventory is the mother of all waste. That moment you have multiple pens than what your demand is, that's the time your waste start in the process. Therefore, when we say that I am giving, my organization is approaching towards maximizing the value addition to the customer, I have to really look at whether I'm reducing my internal waste or not. And this is where the concept of lean startup comes. The approach which is dedicated to the company, that who is really crystal clearly putting or giving value to the customer or the client. So now let's look at what are we talking about, the values about. So in lean startup methods, the focus is on, find the answer of what added value means. So students, we need to really understand that added value, a pen is giving what is called as value added, because the basic function is that I want to write something. That's just a value. But value added is providing a good grip, smoother writing, all such things, right? I hope this concept of value added is clear to each one of us. So when I say a lean startup is focusing towards finding the answers of what value added means to the clients or the customers. So it can also be said that the goal of a startup is totally looking at, finding an answer to the question that what is value to our recipients in the short possible time, for sure, because, fashion is subjected to change. it changes very frequently. Brands like Zara, they are looking at fast fashion. What are they really promoting? That the product life cycle of each style, the garment which you have designed, is very small, might be 2 or 3 weeks, not more than that. Therefore, those startups or those organizations really have to really be dedicated towards innovating new products on a very frequent mode in a shortest time. And when you do that, you have to give quality as well, which is I call it as verified learning. That I launch a product, I get customer returns, I study that why are those customer returns coming into play, and immediately take an action towards it. That there is some vendor who is providing me some different kind of fabric quality which I have not nominated for. Therefore, I need to make those amendments immediately. Otherwise, what will happen is I will have unsatisfactory customers. So you see that this is an entire loop. And this is based on the lean startup methods. Now, let's try to understand what exactly is the loop. So if you see this particular diagram, it is talking about 3 larger components. It is a loop. Now, please understand this loop doesn't break anywhere. It's a continuous cycle. This is the principle of lean manufacturing. That I continuously strive to achieve value for my customers. I do not stop at one point, saying that I have provided a very good grip. Do I really end over there? The answer is no. Lean manufacturing says that you will have to really explore some new problems, some new value additions which are there. Therefore, you'll see that this is a continuous cycle. It's a cycle which goes across. It's a loop which is there. So now let's try to understand this entire loop. Now, the build, measure, you'll see that there's a build, measure, and learn. It's a loop which is the driving force behind the start. And it distinguishes. Now, if you see, we always talk about how can I be distinguishing, how can I be different than the other startups. So this will give you that distinguishing. This will give you that unique proposition you want to go to the market. So lean startup are 3 simple basic operations conditions which you are trying to do in extreme uncertain circumstances. So if you see that I'm trying to recap those all keywords which I have really taken till here. I'll again repeat, lean startup is an idea with 3 simple steps. The 3 simple steps are build, measure, and learn. And how we're doing that is on the basis of operations in the conditions of extreme uncertainty. Then further is verifiable learning loop. That is, I have to really go back to my customer. Students will have to really go back to our customers. You cannot sit in silos expecting that the customer gives you the feedback. You will have to approach the customer. That's where the minimal viable aspect will come into play. So when you start that learning curve, when you approach your customers, that's where this loop will start to begin. Without that, it will not happen. So the first word is lean, first defined as a word, which you want to find out and check to some kind of experimentations or some kind of measurements. Now, experimentations, let's take an example again, that I'm a well-known brand. I'm launching a new range of apparels. What will I really do? If that particular range is entirely beyond my DNA of my organization, I will do a pilot run. I have 300, 400 stores. I'll really go to 50, 60 of those stores. When I'm going to those 50, 60 stores, I will clearly demarcate who are my customers, who are my target customers. I have to do this pilot run over there. So there has to be some kind of study which you need to do, some kind of experimentation which we are doing over here. And once you launch that particular entire range of garments to these specific stores, then you start measuring the feedback of the customers. Now, I hope you are able to understand that when I say experimentation and measure in terms of fashion, this is how we approach it. We do a pilot run, we launch some ranges, we test the markets, we take the feedback from the customer, and this is where the entire loop will start. Now, if you see, each and every startup has limited resources. Therefore, always the creator wants to go through this entire loop in the shortest span altogether. He wants to really complete this loop very quickly. And why he wants to do it? Because he has to immediately find answers towards it. I have 20 lakh rupees of funding and my investor says, I want this entire profitability to be functioning in a year's time. So therefore, this loop cannot be exceeded for a year or more. And in this year, you have to do everything. You have to start from your designing part of it, then creating a product, launching the product, marketing the product, then again coming back with the measurements, which is my customer's feedback. Therefore, a startup is always looking at pushing forward or this cycle, which I have shown you, this cycle, build, measure, and learn very fast. Because they want to learn from the mistakes, improvise, relaunch the product, and make profitabilities. So, from where did this entire concept of lean startup came into play? So it was built on some kind of assumptions, and the word assumptions will take you to some kind of hypothesis, right? It's more a technical term altogether. So I'm making some kind of assumptions while I'm building up a startup. And primarily this concept says that there are two hypotheses. If students are not comfortable with this word called hypothesis, I will look at saying two assumptions, right? What are the two assumptions? The first assumption is my growth hypothesis, a growth assumption that I will always grow. My organization will always achieve profitabilities. My organization, this year I made 10 lakh rupees sales, next year I'll do 15 lakhs, 20 lakhs, so on and so forth. So that is the growth hypothesis. You never anticipate degrowth hypothesis. You never assume that my organization, when I launch, will go into depths. We'll not do that, right? That's the first hypothesis we'll do. The second assumption is value hypothesis. Now, value hypothesis is, as I said, value customer's perspective, not your value. My organization says that I am making these pens. But what is the customer's value towards it? Customer is expecting you to make a pen because there are a lot of people who are making pens in the market who will give you a proper grip, faster writing speed, right? Good quality, long durability, right? These are value propositions. So what does a startup really assume is that I'm going to give a value to the customers. That's the second hypothesis. The first one is I'm always looking at the growth. These are the two pillars towards lean startup. So these elements are developing your strategies, and they will surely risk you somewhere, because unless you do not go into that risk factor, you will not be able to experiment. Always, experimentations are at the risky levels. Launching a same hand block printed kurta, which the competitor is offering, is the easiest thing for me. It doesn't need any kind of risk. Anyways, it will also not give you the highest profitability because market mein already wo available kurta hai. It is selling at around 2,000 rupees. You'll have to really market 1,800 rupees. Again, your profitability will get hit. If you want to achieve good profitability, you will have to go into innovation with a riskier method. Now, I'll give you an example of my organization itself. My organization is into LEDs. What are we risking for? We are now risking towards making EV chargers. It's entirely a different ball game altogether, right? Therefore, we hold on with these two hypotheses, saying growth and value. Now, if the hypothesis is disapproved or the assumptions are disapproved, then the major aspects are necessarily to be implemented. So now let's focus towards the value hypothesis, that, which is a very key hypothesis or assumption which we make, the statements which we make. So it says that our clients want what we offer them when formulation of hypothesis is what basis two key questions. That, my value hypothesis has to be based on two key questions. The first one is, does the proposed solution? Now, guys, let's look at this particular startup product in a different perspective, saying, I am giving a solution to the market. So when I give a solution to the market, that is all is talking about the need of the customer. That the customer is thinking that I want to buy beautiful hand block printed or handloom garments. But the current market players, the brands which are there, are very expensive for me. So what is the proper problem over here? What is the solution which my startup gives? Is that I will give you an equally same hand block printed handloom garment at a lower cost. I'm not compromising at the quality. Therefore, when you look at the value hypothesis, this is the first question which you need to ask is that, does your product, your service, give some kind of proposed solution towards the customer's value? I hope you're able to understand. You can just give me, a thumbs up or something like that so that I know that we are all on the same page. So value proposition. Then the second question which we need to ask is about the money. That is the product with the hand block printed kurta or the sari which I'm offering is at a very good value. Is the customer being able to look at that product and able to pay what I'm demanding for? Is that worth 1,800 rupees? So I'll summarize on the value assumption. How do you do those assumptions? Is by asking two questions. The first one is my product giving some kind of solutions to the customers? The second one is that, am I being able to give some kind of value in terms of money? Is my customer willing to pay for that product at that cost? Right? So if you're able to answer these two questions, then you clear your value hypothesis or the assumptions. Let's take some generic examples, right? So every company implementing innovations was not very sure that how that market will respond to it, to their products. So we all know Ford, amazing car, brand's car, right? Good quality. So what did they do is that they wanted to check whether the people are willing to convert the horses. Now we'll go very back, decades back, where we used to use horses to get things transported or the passengers will be moved. That's the time, Ford started making these cars. So Ford said that, can I give the people to convert the value of they were driving on horses to a mechanical vehicle? That's the value proposition or hypothesis, right? That I will be able to do that. Then only they made innovative machines. Second example, we all know, we use it very frequently, Airbnb, right? Who is the provider for, your stays across the globe. So they verified that whether the people want to stay in a short-term apartments or not. Because you see these Airbnbs which are there are majorly apartments. And when we look at going for a vacation, we will look at a beautiful resort altogether, which has a beautiful swimming, a lot of things across, multiple facilities. So the challenge over here for Airbnb was that is the market, are the people, are my customers looking at short-term, 1 day, 2 day, 3 day stay in apartments instead of huge hotels? So you see, these are the value propositions or hypotheses which these organizations really went to. So this is the start, that expressing these hypotheses or assumptions. Now you see that those are more obvious, but are the beginning way for each and every founder or an enterprise now. Now, when we move to the second hypothesis. Now, what is the second hypothesis? We are looking at the growth assumption. So I speak about potentially scaling up activities in my organization, which is a very confirmation signal that I am developing opportunities for my people, for my vendors, for myself. And if you see, according to that loop, you're determining whether what we want to find out needs to be rechecked. I always say that loop doesn't stop anywhere. You are rechecking things. Now you have to build a guiding principle in a lean startup which goes and sees the same truth in any lean startup, where the key of success is you have to go to your customers. You will have to observe your customers. And not just collecting opinions from the customer. You will have to really go deep dive and understand the sentiments of the customers. Measure it. I again repeat, it's just not observing your customers. is going penetration towards your customers, towards the sentiments which they have. Then only you will be able to make a unique startup for yourself. Therefore, this is one of the beautiful quote by Henry Ford. It says that if I had to ask my client what they want, they would reply that I want a faster horse, because that's the time they were traveling by horses. So they said, I want a very, fast, might be around 100 kilometers per hour running horse which they want. Look at the kind of value which the customer is looking at and what the organization is making. This is where we come to the value proposition, which is called as creating innovations to customers by able to doing tests or giving solutions, which is called as minimum viable product. This is the term which has been coined. So let's try to understand this MVP, minimum viable product. So MVP is, which contains, the key features, but it is not fully developed by which allows you to verify the assumptions which you have hold to your project. It will not allow you saying that if you're looking at making a hand block printed organization, right, who is making some kind of garments. So MVP is not a fully developed function which will tick mark your assumptions, or it will go through some kind of test. Please try to understand that. It is the instigation. It is just a starting point for you. So you'll see that there are many MVPs which are there in the market, a lot of things. But what does Lean Startup book really suggest? So there are 3 MVPs. I'm not going very deep into MVPs right now. We'll just try to understand. So the first is video MVP. Now, what is video MVP? Is that you prepare short films showing how that particular really product works. Now you'll see that these tools are being used by Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra very frequently. What are they really trying to do? They are trying to say that, the Instagram, the kind of Instagram followers which are there, they themselves make the video and upload over there. What are they trying to do? That they are trying to create these MVP videos, which are very much connected to us. The second one is concierge MVP, very service driven. That when you go to Shopper Stop, you'll find concierge service for their specific clients. Now, preparing a product according to need of the customer. Now, when I say concierge service by Shopper Stop, they look at the track record of that particular customer, who is my, the loyal customers is what I say. Very elite. If I have 100 customers, out of that, only 6 or 7 are my concierge or very specific customers which are there. Whenever they are coming, they will give me a call saying that I am looking at this today to buy in your store. The appointment is given and a dedicated person is assigned to that particular person, to the customer. What are we really trying to do over here? We are trying to give a concierge service to that customer. A very one-to-one connect. Prior he comes to my store, I know what color he likes or dislikes. What is the style which he prefers? What kind of pricing MRP is into his, his entire, ball game. And accordingly, I take them to that particular product. I hope this concierge service MVP is clear. We move to the third one is Wizard of OZ MVP. Now, preparation of product / you will look at, the applications is supposed to run something automatic, but operated by people. Now, when you go look at the best example is your mirrors, digital AI-driven mirrors, which are there in Shopper Stop. And now each and every store will have it. What is it trying to give? It is trying to run some kind of automation to your selection, your browsing experience. You will always not want to try all those 20 shirts which you have liked, right? Go to your, your trial room, wear it, and then again come back. It's spoiling my entire customer experience. So how do we do this? How do you automate it? So innovate, artificial intelligence, be in front of that screen. It will take you through the entire fitting of a body posture, and then you browse through your garments. It will give you that feel that you're wearing that garment, you're trying that garment. How am I really looking at? This is one of the examples, right? So I have covered 3 MVPs. The first one is videos. The best thing is your Instagram followers, Instagram posters, which are doing this. Then concierge services, very one-to-one kind of a connect, which is there. And the third one is Wizard, which is artificially driven. Now we move to the next phase. It's called as measure. Now, the measure is a phase. Now, I hope you have understood the build phase. When we are in the build stage, we are looking at the MVPs. Then we look at the measure stage. These are more, hyped up terminologies, but very easy to understand with given examples. So when you come to the measure part of it, is an inherent part of the entire loop. If you see, each and every experiment which you carry out must lead to some kind of data. See, today we are in a data world. Now, when I'm interacting with you after the session, I can really know that how many students logged in, at what time did they go, and I can really say myself that, at this particular time, I was really boring for the students. So the people logged out. On what basis? Because I see the major potential of the students logging out at that particular time. From where would I get that? Is when I look at the data. Therefore, everything in and around us is driven by data today. And when I say data, is measure. You have to measure the customer's behavior towards your product. Now, you will see that thanks to this startup entire ecosystem, which is more, future driven, you are able, today the startup, the new generation who are into startups are really looking at data also. I know I have been with my students and who say that, sir, I have been in this entire, startup ecosystem for the past 3 months, and I have this data. And this is my analysis. Can you please help me whether I'm good at those particular, inferences or not? And this is a beautiful thing which today's startups are doing. Each and every student is driven by data. They want to look at, measure it. That my style which I have sold, I have bought 20 styles. Now you see the number starts from here. When the student starts telling me like this, that, sir, I had 20 styles which I have launched. I kept it for 3 weeks on my portal. And this is how the sell-throughs were. This is how the selling pattern was. Right? So this ecosystem has really developed towards measuring phase, which was not there earlier. It was towards gut feeling. That, one boss who will sit over there and he with his gut feeling say that, "Arey, white color ka shirt order kar lo, wo chalta hai apne paas. Black color ka shirt order karo, chalta hai apne paas." But when you really go back and ask him that, on what basis did you see? You were there only for 1 hour in that particular store, and you see that at that particular point, 10 customers came and picked up those 10 shirts. Is that the right measurement? Because rest of the time, it could be that other coral color shirts were going on. Therefore, it was based on a gut feeling. But now today's startups are really focusing towards the measure part of it. Get the data. I want to go to the sentiments of the customers. I want to understand the customer behavior, the kind of cohort analysis. I'll say customers as cohorts because those are very focused towards my brand. So there are a lot of these analytical tools which are there in the market. Power BI is one of those. Excel, basic Excel is very good at analytical skills. So what do you do is that when you measure it, you're trying to verify your hypothesis. So students, there were 2 hypotheses again. I'll try it again, go back to this value and growth. So what measure does is that it gives you that what assumption you have done that I'm supposed to sell 20 t-shirts today. It is measuring that. It is telling you whether that assumption which I have done, the growth assumption which I have done is validated or not. I hope you're able to understand this entire loop now. So you're trying to verify my assumptions. And thanks to the checkers which are there, like the customer reactions which you're getting nowadays, which are very much measurable also. That customers, if you go to Amazon, you'll find reviews over there. Go to any portal, you first look at the reviews. What is that? That is again a measure from the customer itself. It's not from the seller. That which is trying to give you, motivate the customer to purchase more. It is driving that decision factor. Therefore, you'll see that there is a sales funnel which is changing thoroughly over the time. And therefore, MVP is not constant. The minimum viable product is not constant anywhere. Today, when I sit and I say that, okay, fine, this is the value to my customer, this is the growth of the organization, it will not be there for the next 3 months. I have to really look at that MVP again. Therefore, I just suggested 3 MVPs, which are much more generic into nature, which can go across anywhere, right? So now let's move to the next one. When I say measure, so these are our tools, graphical measures, some kind of data analysis, so on and so forth. So when you look at the engines of growth, we always look at, how am I supposed to grow my organization? Because I'm doing some kind of assumption saying that today I'm doing 200 shirts, the next month I'm doing 300 shirts. So how do you redefine that? So identifying the right engine is very important. I want to travel from one place to another place. How fast? I have 8 hours. Okay, you have 8 hours, you can travel by train. I have only 2 hours. You need to take a flight. What are we really doing? We are defining our engines. Accordingly, a startup has to define their engines, which is aimed at the growth of the product user, ultimately looking at the customer's perspective. So quickly, we'll wrap up in 10 minutes, 5 good principles, and then we'll take up the questions. So what were the 5 3 principles by Eric Rice, who is the founder, who is the innovator towards Lean Startup? So you say that sometimes starting a business turns out to be intimidating experience. I want to try. मुझे try करना है, कुछ ना कुछ मुझे करना है, मैं कुछ start करना चाहता हूँ अपना. So you start up with immense passion. यार इतना market में potential है, मैं तो कुछ नहीं, मैं तो कर सकता हूँ आसाम. वो कब आया, कैसे आया? Because you had some passion towards learning, passion towards doing innovation. And you are motivated altogether क्योंकि आपके around जो है government policies है, funding है, आपके आजू-बाजू के लोग हैं, आपकी family members है, वो आपको motivate करते हैं. And stronger you go and define a very different note altogether. It creates an entire different ecosystem for you. So each startup and innovation fails because extensive amount of money, time and skill and passion is wasted. Please try to understand this. That these are essential. Money, time, skill, and passion is essential. But when it gets wasted, that's when your innovation or your startup starts declining. So, however, if you're adopting the right approach, the right time, right thing, your turnaround time will be very fast. So, at this can only be possible through some good enough, development by new products, good services which you're providing under the conditions of great uncertainty. So what did Eric Rice say, who is an American blogger, entrepreneur and blogger and author as well? He looked at, I looked at this entire book altogether, and 5 principles is, the first principle talks about entrepreneurs are everywhere. A startup is a human institution which is designed to create new products under conditions of extreme uncertainty. So, you cannot define any company by any organization type. Like you, there are hundreds of people trying to find different ways, almost to the same business altogether or product. So yes, the competition is there. So you're not alone in the market, and you cannot even think of going back with a relaxed mood saying that मैं तो monopoly में हूँ, कैसे भी survive हो जाऊंगा. वैसे possible नहीं है आज के डेट में. And let the less thing towards the nature कि ना भगवान है कुछ कर देगा. नहीं, ऐसे नहीं हो सकता है. You'll have to find alternatives to bring the game forward. So therefore, I say that entrepreneurs are everywhere. The second principle is entrepreneurship is management. अब मैं बड़ा sharp word क्यों करूँ कि management जब use करते हैं तो design वाले कहाँ गए? So design is a part of management for sure, right? So a lot of people have a misconception that management is really boring, while entrepreneurship is very exciting. So since a startup is an institution which you need to manage, लोगों को manage करना है, vendors को manage करना है, so technically आपको जाना पड़ेगा. You need to have those entrepreneurial managerial skills. So when you talk about lean startup, it means integrating ideas from lean manufacturing. Example, just in time method use करना पड़ेगा हमें, जहां पर हर एक चीज ready है, जो raw material ready है, पर वो हमारे पास नहीं है. It's not with us. It's with my vendors. I just start assembling those. That's called as just in time. There are so many such tools which are there in lean manufacturing. Accelerating cycle time. Cycle time का मतलब क्या है कि कितना time लग रहा है वो product बनाने के लिए. तो क्या, which tools can I really use in manufacturing to reduce those cycle times? Creating small batches. I do not make big batches. I do not produce 200 shirts at a time. Go with 100 shirts. Go with 25, 30 shirts. Go in small batches. So it is all about management. The third principle is build, measure, and learn, which we have learned right now. So the lean culture, we are launching new products, services, Do you really know how much your clients also are aware of it? You are so not, in a position to predict what is supposed to come. So in most of the cases, entrepreneur, tend to adopt, just do it. चलो करके देखते हैं, हो जाएगा, देखते हैं, वो approach करेंगे, तो there is a tendency you will suffer a lot. Then the fourth one is validated learning. मैंने हर बार बोला है, learning is very important. You'll have to venture into it. You'll have to dirty your hands. Therefore, performing tracking of one of the most integral tools, traceability. आपको tracking करना पड़ेगा, किस तरह से performance चल रहा है. Every day you'll have to sit across, measure things in different perspectives. And this will lead you to make right decisions, mold your strategies according to the ongoing situations. And lastly, if you look at innovation accounting, that is, accounting, when I say, is some kind of KPIs, key performance indicators. So if I'm into HR, I have to see that I hire at a optimum salaries. If I'm in HR, I have to look at whether each and every employee is happy or not. Happiness index should be at the highest. ये क्या है? Measurements है. Therefore, I have to really look at each and every product in the KPI perspective. Accountability लाना पड़ेगा. जैसे हम कहते हैं ना कि हमने आज कोई चीज बेची तो profitability आ गई, मुझे 100 रुपए मैंने कमाए, क्या किए हमने? Accountability लेके आए. तो अब जो है, you will have to look at innovative accountabilities. Because earlier HR was all about payrolls, पैसा salary time पे जाना चाहिए. पर अब क्या HR का काम है? Human resource ये कहता है कि you have to keep your people happy. Happiness index should be the highest. Right? So this is how these 5 principles are there by Eric. And I will now conclude my session and take up any questions which we have, or we can move towards the next phase of this particular mentoring session. I'm open for questions.
Thank you, sir, for such an informative session. As the disclosure with our first speaker, Mr. Anirudh, comes to an end, I want to express my deepest gratitude for his enlightening presentation and valuable insights to the world of lean startups. The knowledge that you have shared with us today is sure to leave a lasting impact on our understanding of innovative entrepreneurial strategies. Now coming to the interactive session, I would also request the students to just pop in the questions that you have in the chat box, or they can raise their hands. We have one question from Atish, who is from SEM 7. His question is, as you mentioned, startups are brought about in extreme uncertainty. How would you motivate budding entrepreneurs to take that leap of faith and begin their brand/business?
So I'll again go back to those words, which I say uncertainty. See, whenever we see that there is a stagnancy, certainty जब भी होगा ना कि इसी तरह से market function करता है, that there's a monopoly in the market. The garments are selling, whatever you are giving is selling. That's a certain kind of condition. Uncertainty क्या होता है कि जब हमने कोई introduce किया, हमें डर लग रहा है कि वो चलेगा या नहीं करेगा. इससे क्या होता है? What does it lead to? Is that you will have to really look at going always in innovation. That is offering new products. As fashion designers, right, or fashion innovators, we are trained for creating new designs. अब बताइए मुझे कि अगर मैंने 6 साल कंटिन्यूअसली इसे व्हाइट शर्ट्स बेचे और मुझे पक्का पता है कि व्हाइट शर्ट्स चलेगा मार्केट में, वो सर्टेन कंडीशन हो गया. कस्टमर की वैल्यू कहां से है? कस्टमर की डिमांड तो कुछ और ही है ना. Always it is looking at some kind of value addition. कि वो white shirt purchase करना चाहता है, which is the basic of all products. But they're looking at some kind of feel, touch, some texture, some kind of good silhouette, and this leads to uncertainty. Uncertainty एक अच्छे positive trend में हमें लेना चाहिए कि हमें innovation करना चाहिए ताकि कोई भी एक बंदा या एक organization monopoly नहीं बना सकती है. अगर certain market होगा तो एक ही product चलता रहेगा सालों ना सालों, आपको कोई entry नहीं मिलेगी. तो इसको पॉजिटिव ट्रेड में देखना चाहिए हमें कि uncertainty leads to some opportunities, and when you look at opportunity, you have to be very innovative, and this is your intellect, your design skills will come into play. I hope I'm able to answer your question.
I hope, Atish, you got your answer. The next question we have is from Juhi Verma, SEM 5. How do you understand your target market when you are just starting out and have not yet gained a foothold in any niche?
Okay. So when I say, when you see that I'm very new to the market, right? I do not know about my customers. Which wattle am I really entering into? The best way is go to the market. कि कहीं ना कहीं competitor तो है ही. मैंने जैसे बोला, entrepreneurs are everywhere. ठीक है, उस startup में चले जाइए और उसे customers से बात करना start कीजिए. Observation एक सिर्फ पहला step है. That's the first step. You'll have to really speak to the customers. See, your customers are your ultimate people who are supposed to accept or reject your idea. Therefore, when I say that I do not know where am I supposed to lead, where am I supposed to go, I want to find a niche for myself. How do I understand is go to your customer. मैंने हर बार बोला है, जैसे अब मेरे केस में when I'm in this industry, I shifted from a workspace to my production because my production is the heart. जहां पर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग होगी मुझे वहां बहुत जरूरी है. If I'm not there, that means I'm not catering to my customers. My larger audience are my people who are manufacturing. And if you don't know your competitor, go to any customer, start interacting, you will get the nerves and pulse of it. And then you can create your idea. You can start building upon your MVPs. I hope I'm able to answer your question.
So I had this personal doubt that if I give importance to customers, then the customers have this demand of low budget. They like things if they get it in cheaper. So that would lead to a quality compromisation. So I am in doubt that should I give importance to quality or should I give importance to my customers? Because they have this demand of getting things at a cheaper rates.
Okay. So I'll not take names of the brand, but I hope you'll be able to understand those brands when I give you some indication, right? When you look at fashion brands, we have some premium brands, we have value format brands, right? ये तो दो हमको पता है कि एक premium brand होता है, एक value format होता है. अब जो value format brand है, वो उसका हर बार ये struggle रहेगा. Every time you'll have a struggle that always the customer is looking at, the low cost garments. Because you ventured into that DNA only, right? You as a brand promoted going value centric market. But if you have positioned yourself as a premium brand, then you will not encounter this issue. So you have to decide while you are making your MVPs that are you a value format? Are you a premium? Are you a mass? Are you a luxury? And when you fit into that, then you will surely look at these variables which are there. And then those customers will not come to you because you have positioned yourself for that. You will not venture into those markets. जहां पर वैल्यू आपने बोला कि मेरा ब्रांड प्रीमियम है, मैं जो शर्ट बना रहा हूं वो 2000 रुपए का शर्ट बना रहा हूं, तो मतलब आपने अपना पोजीशन डिसाइड कर दिया है. तो वहां पर तो ये वैल्यू वाले कस्टमर्स आएंगे ही नहीं. 2000 का मार्क देख के ही नहीं आएंगे बिकॉज यू प्री डिफाइंड योर ब्रांड डीएनए. आई होप आई आंसर योर क्वेश्चन.
Yes, sir, you did. The next question is from Prithvi Raj from SEM 5. Do I need a technical co-founder for my business?
Okay, I'll say co-founder, you'll have to really go and check whether you need a co-founder or you need a teammate, right? So I'll say you need to have management skill sets for sure. And design is a part of management. I'll again repeat because we always treat management and design very differently. When you are designing something, you are following some kind of design process. Process, when I say process, is management. When I am designing something, I'm executing, I'm manufacturing this particular pen. That means I have some process which is there. Therefore, I'll always say design is a management part of it. So you will have to really look at whether you need that technical co-founder or you want to hire an employee or a team member who is technically good enough. But when you look at co-founders, that means you're splitting your stakes for sure. So decide whether you want to go for that or not. If I will give you another example on it, that my product is totally dependent on technical innovations, then I will surely want to have my co-founder as a technical person. But if my product is very generic into nature, then why do I need a technical co-founder? I can really hire a person who is technically skillful, who can give me some kind of interventions in between and give me good products. Why will I dilute my stakes? So you'll have to really take a call on that. The product DNA will give you the answer.
Okay, sir, thank you. The next question is from Yashi Agarwal, SEM 5. A designer has a startup idea. Should they wait until they have experience working in the industry before investing time in their idea?
So if you look at the principles which are there, the first principle which I said, entrepreneurs are everywhere. It doesn't need a stamping that when you start investing your 50,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees, that you are an entrepreneur. You're already an entrepreneur right now because you have an idea in yourself. So I will say, go test the waters. WhatsApp selling start कीजिए, Instagram selling start कीजिए, आपको पता चल जाएगा you are an entrepreneur. So you need not wait. Wait is not the word because fashion is very subjected to change. It will change. आपकी आइडिया तुरंत ही कोई कॉम्पिटिटर ने ऑलरेडी हैक कर ली होगी और आप अभी से वेट कर रहे होगे. Why not test the market? कितना ही लगेगा? There are so many people who want to fund you. 1 लाख रुपए कोई भी देगा. गवर्नमेंट का इकोसिस्टम इतना स्ट्रांग है. Why to wait? So wait is entirely out of the system in startups right now. Go test your waters.
So now we can continue the question and answer round at the end of the session because we need the other speaker as well. So can we continue at the end of the session?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, why
Thank
not?
you so much.
Surely. Please, let's go ahead. Thank you.
Now, as we embark on the next phase of our webinar, I am excited to introduce another distinguished expert in this field. Our next speaker, Mr. Shashank Patodia, who is a co-founder of Ritualistic, which is India's top home decor brand. He's a visionary in entrepreneurship, digital marketing, and e-commerce. A graduate of Jawaharlal Bajaj Institute of Management Studies, he brings a wealth of experience to the table, including his invaluable insights gained from his time at Google. Passionate about startups and digital marketing, Shashank sir has driven Ritualistic success. His guest lectures at NIFT Delhi reflect his commitment to knowledge sharing and industry leadership. Today, let's learn from his seasoned insights at the crossroads of innovation, business, and education. Please welcome Mr. Shashank Patodia as he shares his wisdom on modern entrepreneurship. So we welcome you.
Thank you so much, Krishika. Thank you so much, Anirudh, for that lovely presentation. I'm pretty sure the students now have a very beautiful idea of how to design a product, how to select the MVP and go ahead. So probably I'll like to position this particular part of the session as once the product is ready, how do we go ahead and how do we make a startup out of it? How do we sell it to the customers? How do we make money? How do we raise money? And how do we make a business out of it? So if we can go to the next slide. Okay, so this is something about me. I am an engineer by profession, and I've worked with giants like Google, and my core area of expertise is digital marketing and operations. These two skills are very, very essential for me in my current business, which is Ritualistic. Because a lot of the sales are driven through digital marketing, and we have to be very hands-on in the business operations because it's a goods heavy business. So I've worked with Google for quite some time, and I've stayed in the city of Bombay for a good 7 years. I completed my post-graduation from Bombay. So I have a very, very deep connection with that city. In fact, my wife comes from Bombay, who's the co-founder for Ritualistic as well. Yes, we can go to the next slide. So now we'll talk probably about once the product is ready and we have tested it, how do we make it live? How do we make a business out of it? So we'll structure it in 3 different parts. One is the essentials of startup. Once the product is ready, what are the compliances that you need to get into? What is the structure that you need to build around your startup so that it becomes a business and not a glorified hobby? Second, what kind of a funding route do we take, right? So funding probably comes after we have achieved a certain level of sales and we want to expand the business further. So there are 2 routes that I'll probably talk about today. One is the VC route, which is the very well talked about route, and we glorify the VCs and the PE funds and the startups which raise funds. But there's an alternative route which the government is facilitating, which is called the debt or the grant route. So we'll look at both of them. We'll talk about the pros and cons of both the routes, And based on the kind of startup that we have, based on the kind of skill sets that we need, and based on the kind of money that we need, we'll probably choose on the kind of startup. We can go to the next slide, please. Yeah, next. Next slide. Yeah. So I would echo what Anirudh just said. Two things which come up when we talk about startups versus traditional businesses. One is success is not guaranteed. It's a very high risky domain, but that should not deter you from not venturing into it. So the idea is that you try quickly and fail quickly, or you try quickly and you succeed quickly, but you should not wait. So one of the Q&A is that one of the students asked, should we wait? No, you should not wait. You should probably start tonight. So that is the kind of urgency that you should bring to the table when it comes to startup. The difference that it has versus a traditional business is a traditional business can grow to a certain extent based on the location, based on the business model, but startups are repeatable and scalable business models. For example, let's take an example of Uber. Uber started off in New York or Chicago, and if it would have been a traditional taxi business, it could have operated within the US. But because it was a tech first startup, it was repeated in 180 different countries. So that is the level of scalability that you need to have in your business model. So the business should be repeatable and it should be scalable, and that is how it will qualify as a startup. So let's say a cafe running in BKC, is it a startup? No, it's a traditional business. But if it is franchising out, or if it is expanding fast in other parts of the city or the country, it becomes a startup, because then they've created processes around it which can help them multiply their business by multiplying the number of stores. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. First of all, we need to understand there's a difference between the brand and the entity. So let's say Ola is the brand name, and entity name, which is the company name, the holding name, is the ANI Technologies. Similarly, you would have heard about this brand called Mamaearth. That's the brand name or the trade name, and the entity name or the holding name is the Honasa Consumer. So why I'm talking about, because it comes as a part of compliance in our next section. So we need to be very sure that we are choosing a brand name which echoes with the customer. So Ola is a very catchy name when it comes to taxi. Mamaearth gives you a sense of the products being natural when it comes to the beauty products. Look at the entity name. They are random, very random, right? ANI Technologies or Honasa Consumer. Probably it looks like an aberration. So the focus area has to be around the brand name. The entity name can be a very simple name because it is not exposed to the consumers. We can go to the next one. Yeah. So here it is what a startup registration would look like. So the first thing that you need to do is entity registration. Again, this is probably once you have established the product well, right? I would strongly suggest you not to do it in the initial phases. It's okay to be scrappy in the initial phases, test out the markets, make a certain amount of sales, and then go for this, because this probably requires a lot of compliances as well once you establish an entity. So the first thing that you need to do is entity registration. So you register your firm as a private limited company or a partnership or a limited liability partnership. The Ministry of Corporate Affairs is the department which helps you with this. The go-to person here would be your company secretary. The approximate expenses is around 20,000 as a one-time fee. The annual expenses come to around 15,000 for maintaining this. And that's why I'm saying that once you have established the product and once you are confident of establishing a company, only then go for these compliances. Before that, you have to be very sure that, okay, we have found the right market fit and we are going to create it as a business. The second thing that you need to do is the brand or the trademark registration. Indian Patent Office, which is under DPIIT, helps you with this. the IP lawyer or the company secretary can help you with this. The expenses are pretty low. It's around 10,000 rupees, which include the service charges as well. So it's a pretty easy process. It is very important to have a registered trademark once you achieve a certain level of revenue milestone, because in India, we see a lot of duplicate brands coming up overnight. So it is very important for you to protect your brand. Even let's say if you're selling on Amazon, unless and until you have a brand trademark registration, the other sellers are they can just copy your listing and sell on their behalf. So it is very important to have this in place once you have a sizable business to get your brand and trademark registration done. The third thing that you need to do is get a GST registration if you're operating in India, or an import export certificate if you're into exports business. So let's say we decide that we will, like taking on the example of what Anirudh shared in the apparels business, we will get into a model when we are just exporting garments from here. We might not need the GST because GST is for Indian consumption. We would take an import and export certificate there. But if you want to sell the products within India, we have to take the GST registration. Your go-to person would be chartered accountant, and the approximate expenses for this compliance would be around 5,000 rupees. It is very important to have a current account as well, because all your payments and the proceeds would come to this current account. And the last thing, which is not mandatory but is very helpful, is the Startup India registration. You can do it by yourself, and there are other independent agencies also who help you with this. Approximate expenses around 10,000 rupees. These are some of the things which will help you scale your business very fast. So once you get out of the phase of Instagram selling, or probably selling to your family and friends, you would want to sell it to geographies outside of your purview. And hence this structure becomes very important. Let's say, for example, you're selling a garment on Instagram, right? How do you accept a COD payment if the customer is not from Bombay? In those situations, you'll need to have this entire infrastructure set up for such a delivery. So again, once you have attained a certain revenue threshold, go for these compliances. Next slide, please. I'll quickly take you through the infrastructure setup for an e-commerce player. I've taken this example very consciously because I understand that a lot of us would be interested in the apparel space, and it is very easy for us to set up our first store and get our first sales within a matter of 24 hours. So what we have to do is you go to any website builder. I know a lot of you might be aware of this, but just for the uninitiated, this is a quick guide. Build your store on Shopify, which is the easiest thing to do. You don't need any coding, you don't need any technical expertise. It is as easy as drag and drop. You copy over the images, you drag your images, you write a description, your website is live. Secondly, you need a payment gateway for the payments to flow in. So whether it's a cash on delivery or an electronic payment method, you'll need to have a payment gateway. So Razorpay is again just one example. You can go for PayUmoney. There are like thousands of those in the market, but I'm just taking the ones that are the market leaders so that it becomes easy for you to onboard. The third thing that you need to do is something that we all love to do, is create a reel. Just create a reel, it goes viral, you get your first sales. It is that easy. If you can't create reels, create a good photograph, run ads. So that is the easiest thing to do. Go shoot it and then upload it on your brand channel. Within a few hours, you will get your first sale. Can we go back? Yeah. The last thing that we need to do is get a shipping provider as well. Last slide, please. Yeah, get a shipping provider. I work with ShipRocket as a shipping provider, but there are again like multiple shipping providers who can help you pick up the apparels from your warehouse or your home, wherever you're starting off from, and deliver it to the customer. Now, it is very important to have a shipping partner and not probably a local courier guy because of the COD situation in India. So around 40% of the orders still come as cash on delivery. And unless and until we have a shipping provider, we won't be able to cater to those cash on delivery orders because the cash would not flow back to our account without a shipping partner. And that's it. All of these tools are free for usage. Everything comes to you for free in the initial at least 3 months, and you make your first sale within the first 24 hours. I'll give an example. When we started off in 2018, we got our first sale within the first 5 minutes of going live. And that was just such a validation of what we are doing is right. So the happiness of getting a first sale is a different feeling altogether. Go try it out. It is easy to do. Next slide, please. So there's a short video that I have attached in this. Stay with me. It's around 7 minutes long, but this will give you a very fair idea as to how the VC funding route works, right? And a lot of us have questions around why would somebody put money in your business? And if they put it, what if the business fails? Or how do they make money out of this? This short video of 7 minutes tells you the entire route, right from the day that you start your company to the day that you go into the public domain or you exit the business. So yeah, if you can play that video.
Product, the service. No one has done it before. Unbelievable. It's so painful.
Is it audible? Okay.
Yes, it's on. Yes.
Yes. Can you pull it off? Maybe. You're two friends, you are excited. Design a logo, design a name. All fun and games. Design the concept. Things get serious. You decide to make this a company. You need a structure. A legal structure. How much will that cost you? In the US, incorporating a company will set you back anything between $25 and a few $1,000s. That's in part registration fees, which largely vary depending on where you are, and legal fees, which vary depending on how fancy you need your first shareholders agreement to be. Your incorporation turns out to be on the pricey side. Also, you need to rent a server in order to develop your product. Therefore, you decide to collect some other people's money for it. This early in your venture, who on earth would give you their money? You will get it from family, friends, or by crowdsourcing it. Usually, a newly incorporated company issues 100,000 shares, which are equal pieces of ownership. You need to decide who will get how many of those. You agree on 40,000 shares, or 40% of the company, for each founder, and 20,000 shares, or 20% of the company, for a well-off family friend who buys them for $50,000. It's called an investment, and at such an early stage in your startup, it's called a seed investment. The money he pays now belongs to the company. If the company fails in the near future, which statistically speaking is the most likely scenario, you will probably never see a dime of it again. $50,000 for 20% of the company puts the value of your enterprise at $250,000, which puts the value of your 40% at $100,000. Not bad. Please sign here, here, and here. Congratulations, you incorporated your company and finished your seed round of investment. A year has passed. You're having a successful beta trial with customers. Time to hire a few more people. Rent not just a server, but a small office space. The $50,000 of seed capital only got you so far. Time to collect your first big round of cash. You will do this in a so-called Series A round. You're looking for an investment of $1 million. This time, you're contacting angel investors and venture capitalists, also called VCs. VCs are people who work for venture capital firms, which raise venture capital funds. They take other people's money, which they then invest into young, risky companies, such as yours. Angel investors are individuals who professionally invest their own money into young companies. Often, they successfully sold their own startup many years ago and are now looking to support early ventures. You contacted a few VCs and angels. Some of them you found online, some you got in touch with via friends and colleagues. You sent them mails, you sent them a business plan. Usually, they don't care much for the business plan. They want to see the team. Is it competent? The idea. Is it special? They know it's not easy. What have you already achieved? Is it promising? What could you achieve? Can you dream big? You set up some Skype calls, a bit of small talk, a lot of business talk. Describe the vision, easy. You've done it countless times by now. They ask you tough questions. Have you heard of that other startup which does a similar thing? How are you different? You spark interest. You have second calls. You have third calls. You meet them in person. They might invest. Time to talk valuation. There is pre-money valuation and post-money valuation. The pre-money valuation of your startup is how you currently value it. The post-money valuation is the pre-money valuation plus the investment you're looking to collect. A few weeks down the road, there are two offers on the table. One VC offers an investment of $1 million for a post-money valuation of $6 million. An angel investor you talk to offers to invest $500,000 for a $5 million post-money valuation. The offer of the venture capitalist sounds like the better deal, but the angel has great connections in the industry. It's called smart money. What do? You decide to go for both. You tell the angel that you have a standing offer of $6 million post-money valuation, but you would really love to have her on board. She agrees to invest at a $6 million post-money valuation. Great. How's the cake split this time? Let's do the math. Together, the VC and the angel will put in a total of $1.5 million into your business for a $6 million post-money valuation. This means that they will own 25% of the company. You, your co-founder, and your family friend used to own 100% together. With the new investors coming on board, you will be diluted. After the Series A investment, your cumulative share will only add up to 75%. For each investment round, the company valuation will hopefully increase. Also, each time your company takes in new cash from investors, you will be further diluted. You have successfully completed 4 investment rounds since then. You launched your product by now. Guess what? Customers love it. You're a huge success. The big blogs write about you and whatnot. Most importantly, last quarter, your company has not been losing money for the first time. The business made a profit. Time for the exit. Exiting the company is investors' talk for selling their shares. Everyone who invested cash into your business since the beginning has been quietly dreaming about a big profit. The earlier they invested, the bigger of a risk they took, and accordingly, the bigger of a profit they will get if the company really takes off. There are usually 2 ways of exiting a company: selling to one of the big guys or offering it on the stock market. If you sell out to a big company, the investors will usually sell all their shares at once. You and your co-workers, on the other hand, usually won't. Whoever buys you needs you people to stay motivated to run the whole thing. Therefore, your shares will be transformed into shares of the company who bought you and then made available to you over time. This is called vesting your shares. If you leave early or you don't reach some milestones you agreed on, then you won't receive all your shares. The much cooler way to exit is to become big enough so that you will be able to sell your company's shares on the stock market. The process of doing this is called an initial public offering, or in short, IPO.
What's an IPO?
What's an IPO? I still don't know what an IPO is.
Don't believe Martin Scorsese. How it works is painfully easy. In essence, an IPO is just another capital raise. Once again, your company will issue new shares, only that the investor who buys them this time is neither an angel nor VC. It's the public. The day you go public, your company dumps a bunch of new shares on the stock market. From then on, people can buy and sell them among themselves. Furthermore, you now hold tradable paper, almost as good as cash, the price of which goes up and down every day. You can sell your stock into the stock market at market price anytime, with the exception of IPO lockup periods, which are a topic for another time. You floated the shares at a starting price of $64 and they shot up to over $70 on the first day of trading. Due to stock splits you did along the way, you are now sitting on 10 million shares of your company. Your personal wealth is over $700 million. You could cash in, but do you want that? It feels like yesterday that you two just had a vision. Now, you're 1 in a million. There's a lot you achieved and yet endless things to do. Even though investors call it an exit, for many founders,
I hope this was interesting and it took you through the entire route of VC funding. So the things that you see on Shark Tank, this is the exact ideology behind that. They invest in the initial phases of the business, and once the business grows, the value of that investment increases multifold. The second route that is not very talked about is the debt route, right? And based on the size of the business, based on the funding requirements, you can also choose this route. The current government has been very supportive in terms of the debt or the grant route. If you go to the next slide, I've just taken up a poster from the Startup India Fund. You can get up to 50 lakh rupees as a grant or as a loan from one of the incubators. And trust me, it is very easy to apply. It is just very, very simple paperwork that they ask for. And once they validate your idea, once they see some initial sales, this money flows in very, very easily. So it is very easy to get the seed funding from the government of India. Sometimes it comes as a grant as well when you don't have to return that money. So go ahead, take that risk. Everybody is supportive of you. The customers would support you with their cash, the government would support you with the grants, and the infrastructure is very, very ripe in India, and everything is just a click away. So go ahead, take the plunge, I would say. Next slide, please. That's it from my end. It was short, but I just wanted to tell you that okay, it is really, really easy to start your own brand, and it would take you not more than a few hours to do that. So do it right away.
Thank you so. Yes, sir.
So we have a few questions, right? Krishika, do you want to take it over?
So we have a question from Gitika Salian from SEM 5, which is, if I have a plan to start a brand on a small scale first and then grow it on a big brand, how should I manage my budget if I don't have any investors and I don't want to take a loan from any bank? And related to it's a question from Juhi Verma from SEM 5. The cost for compliances for startup require a certain degree of investment. If an entrepreneur has difficulty meeting the economic requirement, then how can they work around it?
Okay, so I'll take the second question first, which is around the compliances, right? Like I said, make your initial probably 1 lakh of profits without doing any compliance. Make that sale happen. Nobody is going to come after you because everybody knows it's a startup. Once you have that money, invest it into compliance and inventory and ads. Once that is done, you'll have a very healthy cash cycle. So the initial phases are not meant for compliances. If you get into the cycle of compliances very early, the chances are that you'd probably get frustrated very fast. The initial phases are for making sales and making the right product. So go ahead, sell it to your family, sell it to your friends, sell it to your neighbors, sell it to all the people around you, sell it to strangers as well. Make that initial 1 lakh or 2 lakh rupees as profits and then deploy a part of it in the compliances. Do not do the compliances right at the initial stages. It is not even required. The government doesn't even expect you to do that. The second one is if I plan to start a brand on a small scale first and then grow it to a big brand, how should I manage my budget if I don't have investors and if I don't want to take a loan from the bank? Okay, so here's the thing. We all must have read about the capital cycle, the working capital cycle, right? For any brand, unless and until it's an extremely profitable and a negative cash cycle business, it is very difficult to grow without taking a loan or an investor on board. So you can grow sustainably over probably a period of 10 years. But do you want to get into that mode? Or do you want to grow fast by leveraging the resources that you have? So initially start small, no doubt about it. Get that probably the first 10 lakh of sales, and then go to the bank. They'll give you a loan at a very cheap rate. Go to the Government of India fund, they'll give you a grant. So it is very easy to get funds. This is a market. It's a bull market for the startups right now. So make use of it, I would say.
What is the minimum value for seed funding that we need to have?
So seed funding ranges from 1 lakh to 50 lakh from the Government of India. In terms of sale, they can seed fund an idea as well. So you do not need to have a sale. If your idea is strong enough and you have a working prototype for that idea, you would get the grants. If it's a normal traditional fashion business, let's say, you need to have a certain level of revenue for it to qualify for the grant.
Yes, sir, the numbers that you're saying, lakhs, it's too much for a student level, I feel.
Not really. So once you start,
I
yeah,
have a
Anirudh,
solution over
yeah,
here.
yeah.
I have a solution over here. So I know all the students have Instagram accounts, right? And there are a lot of case studies. I'll not take the names of those brands. So what that particular person has done is that you go to any of the store. Let's say I'm inclined towards having a footwear brand, right? उतना तो पता होना चाहिए गीतिका की हमें करना क्या है, ठीक है? तो मुझे फुटवेयर का बिजनेस करना है, गीतिका को फुटवेयर करना है. अब वो क्या करेगी, कैमरा लेगी और वो स्टोर विजिट करे. शील गो टू ऑल द स्टोर्स, राइट, क्लिक द फोटोग्राफ्स एंड देन शील प्रमोट इट ऑन द इंस्टाग्राम. अब कस्टमर तो ढूंढना पड़ेगा ना, कस्टमर फ्री में नहीं आएगा. सो यूल हैव टू वेंचर इनटू, एज राइटली सेड बाय सो दैट यूल हैव टू वेंचर आउट टू अननोन पीपल, सेल इट, इंस्टाग्राम पे, व्हाट्सएप पे भेजो. इसमें लागत क्या है? व्हाट इज द कॉस्ट विच यू आर इनकरिंग? जीरो कॉस्ट. What you're doing, you're going to multiple stores, you're posting it on Instagram, you're wearing it, right, and then showing off ki na ye aise, if you want to order this, then you can order it on this link. Now what is happening in this, that you are using some third party inventory where you're not even committing anything. The simplest thing is that the time when you receive an order, you go to the store, you pick it up, you mark it down and put it. अब देखो, इससे जो है आपकी साइकिल स्टार्ट हो गई, जो कैपिटल सर कह रहे थे, कैपिटल साइकिल होती, क्योंकि अगर आपके पास पैसे वो खरीदने के लिए जो है क्रेडिट कार्ड होगा, लेट्स से मम्मी पापा से क्रेडिट कार्ड ले लेना, 45 डेज का लीड टाइम आता है, उसके अंदर पेमेंट किया, अगले दिन आपको कस्टमर का पैसा आ गया. इसी तरह से आप सोचिए कि अगर दिन में एक भी शूज आपने बेच दी 1000 रुपीज की, 30,000 का आपका कॉर्पस बन गया और उसका पेमेंट करना है आपको क्रेडिट कार्ड से. उसमें कुछ ना कुछ तो मार्कअप किया होगा ना, एक 200 रुपए ऊपर रखे होंगे, वो आपका प्रॉफिट बन गया. वो प्रॉफिट क्रेडिट कार्ड का पेमेंट कर दीजिए, वो प्रॉफिट बच गया, उसको फिर से इन्फ्यूज कीजिए. This is how you start growing your brand, and that money which you have made as a profitability has to go in that brand making. That is, I'll design a logo, then I'll, as sir said, there are some costs which is linked. This is how the laddered approach start. And the brand which I am working with, the organization which I'm working with, we started like that only. We started taking LEDs from third party. We took a room, छोटा सा 1 BHK था, ठीक है, उसके अंदर we started making LEDs. And the demand grew so much because there were no competitors at that time who will be able to give quality LEDs. अभी जो LEDs है ना, these are not those LEDs which Wipro or any other organization gives. These are B2B, जो हम petroleum structures जाते हैं, जहां पर आप डीजल का साइनेज देखेंगे. This is very customized. So there are very few players, and we wanted to give a quality. Our USP MVP was quality LEDs. That's how we started, and today we are 50 crores organization with 100 plus employees, and that is within 4 years of lead time. Only 4 years. I hope I answered Gitika's question.
Ritika, if you have any question, you can feel free to ask. Coming to the next question, Yukta Praveen from SEM 5 has a question regarding, when faced with challenges, how do we know whether to push through or call it a quit?
So as an entrepreneur, you'll get this every evening, I would say. If not every evening, every week, you'd be prompted to go back to a corporate life and call it quits, right? You'll see your friends chilling on Instagram and you'll say, okay, I also need weekends. But there's an underlying current, right, which would tell you that, okay, you have to keep going. Now, 2 things. What do you quit on? So let's say if a product is not working, do not attach yourself to the product, quit it right then, quit early. But do not quit on your entrepreneurial venture. Try something new. So that is the underlying thing. So we have, as a home decor brand, we have tried almost 30 product categories, out of which only 3 work for us. So we have almost quit 90% of our categories. So you have to keep trying and keep quitting, but do not quit being an entrepreneur is what I would say.
Got it, sir. Sir, also, what if we invest more time on the product which is not working? Would our time investment in that product would bring certain changes?
No, so I would suggest that you test and fail early. That is what I keep telling everybody. Test it. If it doesn't work, test it again. If it doesn't work, just quit it. No, do not attach yourself to the product. There are certain things that are probably that we think are amazing, and the customer thinks they're not as per what they require, right? So for example, I'll give you a very trendy example, right? You see all these reels on Instagram. Some of the reels are like shit, like you don't want to even look at them, but they're viral, right? So exactly how the customer responds to a product is beyond your purview. You can do your best, but if it doesn't work, improve it. If it doesn't still work, just quit it.
Understood. So this question from Isha Rana, SEM 5, has from Anuruddh sir, because she asked during that time. You mentioned that inventory is the mother of all waste. How can inventory be kept low while also ensuring the demand for the product does not exceed the supply?
Okay, very good question. So this is directly linked to go to a doctor, and what does the doctor do first is he will check my heartbeat rate and the pulse rate. What is it trying to do is that this is my organization, right? This is organization as a body, as an organization, is that different departments, different organs, right? So if any organ is not working with the pace of the entire body of the organization, so what will happen? My heartbeat will go up, heartbeat will go down, my pulse, everything will be some directions which are there. So I tell that this heartbeat rate of customer demand. So you have to look at your customer demand and manufacture accordingly. If you are not making as per the customer demand, saying that I have a customer demand of 10 pieces per day, I'm making 12 pieces, what is happening? The heartbeat rate is up. What will happen? You will be excess of 2 inventories, 2 pieces. Then it will start to leading of mother of all waste. जब आपका इन्वेंट्री आ जाएगा, उसको होल्डिंग कैपेसिटी आएगी, मतलब उस पीस को रखने के लिए आपको रेंट पे करना है, उस पीस को मेंटेन करने के लिए आपको कोई सिस्टम लगेगा, उसके लिए कोई ह्यूमन बीइंग लगेगा, तो वहां से देखिए अब सब कुछ वेस्ट स्टार्ट हो जाती है. अगर मैंने हार्ट बीट रेट 10 है मेरा और मैंने 8 प्रोड्यूस किया, उसमें क्या होगा? आई विल नॉट एबल टू केटर टू माय कस्टमर नीड्स, शॉर्टफॉल. Therefore, customer demand will set your heartbeat rate, which is called the talk time. TAKT-TIME, टॉक टाइम कहते हैं उसको, जो हार्ट बीट रेट होता है. इसी चीज को लेके हम इन्वेंट्री लेवल्स मैनेज कर सकते हैं. आई होप आई हैव बीन एबल टू आंसर दैट क्वेश्चन.
So talk time is like the correct word?
Talk time, TAKT, it's a Japanese word. Tact time, tact time कहते हैं. And tact time is something which Dish TV also implements. आप कभी भी अगर किसी को कॉल करोगे ना, कोई कस्टमर केयर को, it says that you are in queue, 3 in queue, and you must this much is the time which you will take, 10 minutes. How are you doing that? They're calculating the average duration which a customer took and the customer service person took to answer that question. वो average out किया और बताया कि लगभग 3-3.5 मिनट लग रहा है, तो ये 3 लोग जब मेरे क्यू में है तो उसको 10 मिनट लगेगा. इस 3 मिनट को हम कहते हैं टॉक टाइम.
Thank you, sir. The next question is from Isha Velankar, SEM 5. Design students who want to create startups may not have studied business as a degree. How do you suggest such students who are interested in entrepreneurship be introduced to the business world?
I can take that up probably. So my idea is that the business cannot be taught. So like I am an MBA, but I don't think it added any value to my overall style of doing business. It did give me a platform to probably work in corporate giants, become a better employee, but business cannot be taught. You have to do it. You have to get your hands dirty. Once you do that, you learn skills which are beyond business school. So you learn to negotiate, you learn to sell, you learn to make a product, you learn to be the inventory guy, you learn to be the operations guy, you learn to be everything. And that is the skill set that cannot be taught in a school. You have to do it on your own.
Got it. So next
I'll add one thing to it. We always, I have been using this word in this particular session also, that design and management have been identified too differently. I will not really say those are two different identities. Design is a part of management. I'll tell you, I can prove you right away that as designers, you go through some kind of design process. आपने कुछ स्टडी किया, सर्वे किया, ठीक है, कस्टमर्स का क्या है, या आपने कोई हिस्ट्री, बुक हिस्ट्री देखी कि ना ये एरा में क्या हुआ है, तो क्या किया आपने, कुछ स्टडी की है. Then from that study, you have picked up some kind of syllabus, you start designing, sketching it. Then you make some kind of mood boards, silhouette boards, color boards, right? So you're doing some kind of process. After that, then you go back to your customer, or you go back to the right person, which could be Bhavna ma'am, right? So you go back and give a presentation, जिसको हम jury कहते हैं. Ma'am will have know that, you know, what all, कहाँ पर आप जा रहे हो wrong, कहाँ पर सही है. तो she will ask questions, the way customer ask you a question, that why did you make this particular product? I think so it is 299, right? You have marketed 399. So some question was asked by the customer. Similarly, Bhavna ma'am already asked you the question. Then you start addressing that question. Jury के बाद सोचते हो ना कि ये question पूछा था, फिर कैसे solve करना है उसको. अब ये process आप देखोगे तो मैं word use कर रहा हूँ process. Process equates to management. Management क्या होता है? Managing things. मैनेजिंग थिंग्स का मतलब क्या है? पैसा मैंने मैनेज कर दिया तो एक प्रोसेस मैंने आइडेंटिफाई कर ली है. वैसे मैंने डिजाइन को भी मैनेज किया है. तो आई विल ऑलवेज से डिजाइनर्स आर ऑलरेडी मैनेजर्स. It's just a different tag altogether which we give that MBAs, right? या मैनेजमेंट वगैरह किया है. It's just a different perspective towards different streams. But you all are already managers. You are negotiating with Bhavna ma'am for getting the marks, right? To get your things right. So you're already a good negotiator already, right? So do not worry that you need to have some kind of management. You're already managers altogether.
Thank you, sir. The next question is from Shivani Savarkar from SEM 5. As marketing is an important part of business, what are the key points to keep in mind for effective marketing of the product?
You want me to take this?
Shashank, you want to go?
Yeah. So marketing would depend on the phase that your business is in, right? Let's say if you're starting off, probably a good idea would be to introduce your customers to the brand that you're building and the kind of product that you're building. 6 months down the line, you have customer reviews. You switch your gears and pivot towards customer reviews, and you do a slice of life advertising saying that, okay, here are customer reviews and they've done it pretty well. Why don't you do it? So marketing as a strategy is probably something that I cannot probably state here in 2 or 3 sentences. It requires an entire funnel building. So you let the people discover your brand, you let them be in the consideration period, and then you give them a final nudge to go and buy a product, and at the same time become an advocate for your product. There are so many brands which do not do any paid marketing and do really well because they have those advocates in there, right? So it's a complete funnel that needs to be drawn based on the life stage of your business. And that comes with, obviously, with once you start doing it, once you know that, okay, you have so many customer reviews, can I make use of those reviews? You have so many advocates, can I create a referral program? You have so many creatives, can you introduce your customers to these creatives and these products? So a different ball game, I would say, but effective marketing would depend on, again, like the customer. So there's no right or wrong marketing. If your message is reaching the right customer at the right time, your marketing is effective. If you are showing a review to a customer who has never heard of your brand, it's wrong marketing. If you are probably introducing a brand to a customer who has already bought a product, then it's wrong marketing. Hope that answers.
True, sir. Considering the customer as a god, I feel.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Any more questions does anyone have? Juhi Verma has a question. In today's fast-paced technological world, do you think handicraft business can survive? If not, how can we advocate for such crafts?
Okay, I think I'll just go about this question. Very interesting question. Handcrafted business will never die. It's how you present it. I'll tell you an example that in British era, we use these applique patchwork, right? So there were these tents which they used to make for soldiers and for these particular, the commandos which are there, or the people who are there, right? The leadership. So they used to make these tents out of this applique work, which is handcrafted. And they called it as, I have a very luxurious tent because I am a commando, right? Therefore, handicraft will never die. Handcrafted product, the kind of unique propositions which that can offer, none other product can offer. Therefore, that answer, technology versus handicraft, that is a challenge. I agree that, but there are a lot of people, if you are able to project, forecast, or you sell that proposition एक अगर आप इस पेन को, it's made by machine, still I present it saying that it's a handcrafted pen. People will buy it because you are narrating a story behind manufacturing, making this particular pen. Therefore, the biggest lag over here is that we are not good storytellers when it comes to the Indian market of selling handcrafted products. The artisans who put in day and night towards making these products are itself a unique story. You need not make any fake stories around it. Just narrate the story, the way Ajrak saris are made, products are made. People will get impacted. They create that image in their mind, and how much ever money you ask, they will start paying you for that. Because that's an aspiration which you have seeded in the mind of the customer. Therefore, I will say there is no way out there. You will always handicraft stay. It's just that you need to build your storytelling skill sets to promote those. So if not, how can I advocate this such? So advocate is something which I said, storytelling is a beautiful way to present the handcrafted products. Just making a very good video, narrating it will give you immense potential towards selling the products. I hope I'm able to answer that question.
So I have seen this closely as well during our industrial interaction. We went to a company where it was rugs. Basically, they're making rugs. So the people who were making rugs were from the villages. But the main thing was happening in Jaipur. So we saw they were actually selling the story. They were making the story. Everything like people were involved so much into that. They got emotionally connected to the product.
Yes, so true. Yes, that's the right way to go about it.
So, any more questions from anyone? I think so, no. So, sir, I would like to thank you so much, sir, for this delighted, in-depth knowledge that you have imparted on us with so many things that you have actually told us, and we have understood the depth of it. Now I would like to call Ms. Pallavi Palat to speak few words regarding this.
I'm really grateful to have you here, both of you actually, Mr. Anurodh and Mr. Shashank, who really took their time, which is very precious time for them, and to mentor our students. I could see actually the students were, discussing things with you all, and they were enjoying a lot. And I'm sure they're going back with some extremely valuable inputs to start the journey of turning their startups dreams into reality very soon. We don't have our Vice Chancellor here, but I would like to thank him also for giving this kind of, organizing this kind of sessions. And I would like to also my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Bhavna Chandana, Director of ASFT, for being the guiding force. Also, thanks to all our faculty members and students for their participation and support. And I especially thank the institution's Innovation Council for the opportunity to conduct this event. And last but not the least, I would like to thank the IT support for enabling the conduct of the event. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It has been a pleasure, and always ASFT is too close to my heart. It's my department altogether. I'm a research fellow over there, and always a pleasure for me to be a part of such kind of workshops. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Shashank, for accepting my request as well.
No, thank you so much. It was lovely going back to the class. It's been like I used to take classes in NIF Delhi around 5 years back, but then after due to the paucity of time, I had to stop. And it's after 5 years that I'm taking this class, and it is wonderful to be back amongst the students, talking to them, and looking forward to many more such collaborations in the future. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.